Joey, it's time for another podcast.
Yes, Adam. Happy to be here.
So, this is episode 2 of the podcast. We've been speaking about things again that are interesting us about the Peplink and the Peplink community and world. And should we just jump straight in with something?
Well, let's jump right in there. We're gonna talk about with the Peplink stories. We have a really special story. It's gonna be about In Control, and we're gonna take everyone here into a space mission with Peplink. Do we?
A space mission. I think it's more of a history mission, isn't it? You can be a space mission if you want.
Well, we're certainly going interplanetary. I don't know.
Interplanetary. We're definitely going interplanetary.
Yes, we do. So yeah, I think most of the people know In Control, but for those who don't know, In Control is the cloud management platform for Peplink, where you can manage all your Peplink devices that have a network connection. We're talking not only about routers, but we're talking about switches, access pointers, and all of those things. So yeah, really excited to start talking about In Control, and yeah,
It is. It pretty much lets us control the whole Peplink ecosystem, doesn't it? Which is something.
yes.
I mean, it's not unique to Peplink, but there's certainly not many vendors out there that have a complete solution like In Control. And we were very lucky the other day. You and I got to speak to Michael Chan, who is, I think he was there at the very start of Peplink and certainly the start of In Control. We asked him a few questions about the history of In Control, where it was, where it is now, and where it's going.
Yes, yeah, really excited, and some really good information as well. Really happy that he was able to answer our questions, and he would like to.
I
Yeah.
think the first question that I asked him that I was really interested with was there an In Control 1?
Yes,
Um,
because there is an In Control 2, right?
There is
The
an In
name is In
Control 2.
Control 2. Yeah.
Implies there should be a 1, and there was. There was an In Control 1. Perhaps didn't have, well, it didn't have as many features, and by the sounds of things, it was more of a reporting tool where you could see what was going on with your Peplink rather than being able to make changes to your Peplink and influence what was going on.
Yes, correctly.
So it wasn't soon before they developed a new version of In Control.
Yes, it was like you said, no real management possibilities. Now you can go into the remote web admin from In Control, and this really helps out to be able to see what's going on locally on the device, but also you can now push VLANs, outbound policies, a Capture Portal you can push, so many other things like LAN settings and stuff like that. You don't need to be there on the device anymore. You can practically everything, I think, except quality of service stuff. But that is something that we come back on later. But the quality of service, though, is the only thing I'm still doing locally on the router. Everything else is almost all doable via In Control.
Really good. Should we start on your space mission then?
Yes.
We know that In Control is each instance is named after a different planet.
Yes.
And my next question to him is, what are the different planets? What are they named after? And we know about Mars and we know
Yeah.
about Earth, because those are the two that if you create your own In Control instance, you either put on Earth or Mars, aren't you?
Yes. So Earth is like the most stable version, and does get the updates at the last time. So they update Mars first before they do Earth. But before we get into Mars, there's a planet before that, if we're going towards the sun, and that will be Venus. And
So what is Venus for? What do we use Venus for, Joey?
Well, Venus is the one that we do, or Peplink does all the testing in. So Venus is just a kind of a beta version of In Control that you have. Everything will be added to the Venus version. Even Peplink uses that nowadays for testing out certain stuff on the In Control page. So
And it's
the
also
versions-
accessible to some partners as well, isn't it? So there's some partners that also use Venus.
Yes. Yeah, you can request this via your reseller or your distributor if you really want to. There's of course a business case needed for it, but there is on request.
It's worth pointing out it's definitely not to be used for production, because
Oh, yes.
these are where things are tried out, things are tested, and you can expect things to go wrong. There will be
Yeah.
times where they'll put an update on there and it needs further development.
Yes, correct. Yes, there is sometimes that of course they they will not break it on purpose, but there will be stuff added that might be of any interference of the live environment of Venus, but doesn't affect Earth or Mars in any way.
And then if we go to the other end of the solar system, we arrive at Pluto.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
this is something that I didn't know and something I was told. And in fairness, it actually doesn't exist anymore. A bit like Pluto is no longer considered a planet, is it? It's
Yeah.
like a meteorite or something. I don't know. It's some silly thing. But Pluto used to be used as the real development platform for the Peplink engineers themselves. And more recently, they've got rid of the Pluto in control, and they are now using Venus the same as the partners.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, they use Pluto as a like an alpha stage of In Control.
Absolutely fascinating. What else did he tell us, Joey?
Well, staying at Venus, there's a maximum, of course, of devices you can add to Venus because, like we said, it's not a live or it should be not used as a production version of In Control. So there is a maximum of 50 devices that are either online or offline. So that's really the limit. So that's also good to know, I think.
Definitely. We also asked him some of his favourite features about In Control, and apart from him saying that everything, because he was very adamant that everything on In Control is absolutely amazing. The two that really stood out for him was InTouch. So perhaps you'd like to tell us a bit about the InTouch on In Control.
The InTouch is really nice feature, and I like it so much because if you keep it within Peplink, the SIM injector, if you want to reach that locally, there's no WebAdmin feature for that yet. I don't know if there will be any, but of course they're always looking to improve, and this could be it for the SIM injector part. But it does have a WebAdmin, so you can go into InTouch, add it as a InTouch feature, and then connect to it via its IP address in the LAN of the router that you are managing. It does need to be a client into the router, of course, but you can still log in with your local details and still use it as a remote web admin. So it's a really, really nice feature.
It's a really useful feature. It gets round not having to have a static IP address, because you can access those devices without having to have a static IP address, or even having a bunch of static IP addresses because you've got lots of things on the same port. You could have lots of devices like cameras and things like that on your local area network, which is really good. I mean, there's another feature as well, which is Find My Peplink, which is a bit like it's a dynamic DNS. It allows if you have a public IP address on the Peplink, you can use Find My Peplink to convert that IP address into a DNS name. But that's still not as powerful as InTouch. InTouch is something special.
Yes, and also for InTouch, you don't need to put any forward rules or server rules in there as well. You just don't need to open it. InTouch does that all for you.
Yeah, maybe we should do a separate video at some point just about InTouch, because it is something very powerful. I think that'd be very useful. And the other feature he told me about that he really likes, which is something I didn't know you could do, is you can have custom icons for your devices that you can upload. And not only just one icon for a device, you can have an offline and an online version of that icon for your device. But you already knew this, didn't you, Joey?
Yes. Yeah, I knew that, well, 50% of it, to be honest. I knew that you could change the icon. I didn't know there was an offline and an online version. And also you can just upload your own picture of it. So you can upload a picture for online and you can upload a picture for offline devices. So that's quite interesting.
It's really good. And then I also asked him, is there going to be an IC3? Is there an In Control 3 on the horizon? And I think there was a resounding no, there isn't. There's nothing coming after IC3 because IC2 isn't finished yet. There's so much more still to develop on IC2. And just watch this space, really. There's certainly a lot coming, especially every time a new firmware comes out. And you know, you and I love things about firmwares, but let's not make this episode about a firmware. Every time a new item comes out on a firmware, there has to be something on In Control to make that work as well. Looking at the roadmap, I'm really excited about the future of In Control. I think there's a lot more that it's going to do, and what it can do now is just amazing.
Yep, that's correct. And yeah, I also like the comment that also highlights about features with private in control or in control virtual appliance, which is a privately hosted in control version. And then the funny thing is that it's getting the same updates.
Why would we use a private in control over Peplinks in control?
Really special project where you are really concerned about data, where it's stored. You want to be in your own control of that. So the last thing that we share so the last thing that we asked Michael was about the tips and tricks. So yeah, I think do you want to cover this one?
If I had the right screen open, I would absolutely go through it. But it sounds like you have the screen open. So, Joey, please take it away and give us these.
All right. So, Michael showed also with us the tips and tricks that he has for In Control. So, there are some less known features that he mentioned, and maybe not everyone wants to or needs to use them. But the AWS Transit Gateway integration. Like that's really an oncoming feature, and to be honest, I have no idea what it does. Do you have any idea?
Oh, this is why you wanted me to talk about it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. I believe it's an interlink, so it will allow you to connect your Peplink straight to Amazon Web Services, but that surely would be a fusion, not a fusion, a speed fusion feature.
Really?
But I don't know. Maybe we should do some more research before we start telling them about these tips and tricks.
Yes, correct.
Look, Joey, the easiest way, right? You don't know, I don't know. I think we just invite everyone. If you know, can you just put in the comments underneath so that Joey and I can be educated as to why that's a really good thing, how it works, and why it's important?
Yes, a really good one. And maybe we highlight that in the next episode.
Yes.
If somebody can explain it to us.
And maybe you'll be a guest on the next episode if you can explain it to us.
Yes, indeed.
And any more tips and tricks there, Joey?
Yeah, so looking through the list, we already discussed the upload for custom map markers. I do like the thing as well where they go into for the next ones that I think are really important as well, that they are also be extending the hourly users reporting. So instead of having 24
this sounds
hours,
really good.
Yeah, so instead of having 24 hours, they can go up to 1 month on hourly basis. So that's really, really cool because that allows you to look back in time way further than just another day. And the daily usage reports will be extended as well if they get it to work, of course. And it's all subject to change. But so it will be extended from 45 days till 3 months. So you can look back 3 months. So that's really good for a day-to-day basis. So what did it do on that day 2.5 months ago? That's a really, really nice feature.
And let's just be really clear about this. This is features that they're working on now and looking at. This isn't available in Control yet. It's not in Venus yet, but it's something they're actively looking at, is increasing the length of time those reports can be viewed for.
Yes.
No, it's really, really exciting. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be really useful to us.
Yes. All right. Yeah, I think this was really great. And I really want to thank Michael for taking time for us to answer the questions as well. And yeah.
Definitely. Thank you, Michael. So, Joey, next section is going to be tips and tricks.
Yes.
Have we actually thought of a better name for it yet? Or are we just going to stick with Tips and Chicks by Adam and Joey?
Tips and chicks or tips and tricks?
Tips and Chicks. No, Tips and Tricks by Adam and Joey.
Okay. Tips and tricks by Adam and Joey. I like it because we are all about finding out the new stuff and finding out simple things that could help everybody out. So I think tips and tricks is the best one. So let's get into it. Great.
So what's the first one we're going to speak about, Joey?
Connecting your Starlink to your Max HD1 Dome Pro. So you can connect this directly via a switch with the feature of Virtual WAN. So Virtual WAN allows you to create a WAN port on a LAN port. And as you can show, Adam, the HD1 Dome Pro has no WAN port. It does have two LAN ports via a splitter, but there's only one LAN port on the Dome. And with virtual WAN, you can do VLAN tagging on the switch. You can still add the Starlink as a WAN to your HD1 Dome, so you don't need to have another router to manage the Starlink for you. So you can have a solution that is really clean and really simple.
This is really good. I mean, there's another hidden benefit of that as well, because it was always very hard to install an eSIM onto the Max HD1 Dome because you had to have that initial second internet connection to make it work. But now that you can switch up that LAN port to have a virtual WAN, that allows you to have that second internet connection to install that eSIM.
Yes.
Amazing feature.
Yeah, it is. Really nice. And we will put a link down into the forum post where everything is ready for you to, with pictures and everything. So that will really help everyone out.
Definitely. It's a very easy thing to do as well. Next one I've got on here is throttle bandwidth for captive portal users.
Yes.
I mean, this is something that's always evolving with Peplink anyway, is the captive portal. And it's included at no extra charge. It is part of the solution out the box, unlike other captive portals that you have to pay for.
Well, you need to have if you want to use this particular feature, it's on a in-control version of Captive Portal. So you need to have an in-control license, or you need to have the device online and in-control to be able to push the Captive Portal from the in-control server to your device. So yes, you don't need to have an extra license to use a Captive Portal, but you still need to have everything in control. And who doesn't have everything in control, right?
Well, there you go. So what does this let us do then?
Well, you can, after the period of time, you can set a date, like a time-based connection to your Captive Portal. So you can either set it as a time-based or usage-based, but you can also select time and usage-based. This gives you time, for example, 1,000 minutes of connection time to your Captive Portal. And you can also set a maximum amount of daily quota on data usage. And if your user then has reached that limitation of the data, you can throttle it down, the bandwidth, to a specific kilobits per second. So that kilobits per second gives you also the flexibility to create I want to lower the data consumption for the users because I need to pay a lot of the euros or dollars or pounds to keep that connection alive. It's a very expensive one. I want to limit the users to be able to connect to a still fast connection, but I want to limit them on how much they're using. Let's say you're using the Starlink. If you go onto the OpenSea, you need to have that priority data. You don't want to have one user consume all the data, but you also don't want to have that user have no internet connection at all. So you can set it on, for example, 5 gig a day. And then if you hit that 5 gigabytes of data, then it throttles you down to a specific amount of kilobytes per second.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a really useful feature to me. It's a bit like the Starlink data anyway, whereabouts you have a priority, and after the priority is used up, it's then best effort. But rather than this being best effort, you're actually choosing the speed that you want that end user to have once they've consumed the amount that they're allowed in a day or a week or a month or whatever the time limit is. So yeah, is that a new feature on In Control then?
I think it's already existing, but it is fairly new. It exists already a few versions. So the next one, Starlink Mini, powered from PoE of the MBX. And why?
I mean, this certainly isn't a tip, but it's certainly a trick. And you know I like doing crazy things. You know I like to set myself a challenge and just do it because. So I had an MBX sitting there. I had the new Starlink Mini, and the new Starlink Mini can work off 12 volts. So I thought that would be great. Can I take the PoE out of the MBX, convert it to 12 volts using a little injector, and run the Mini? So quite simple. Plugged one in, plugged it into the Mini. Did it work? No, it didn't. And that's because each port doesn't have enough amps because of the PoE technology that it uses. So I thought, that's fine. Why don't I get two? So let's take it up to 12 volts times 2. I'll get 2 of these adapters, one on each port. I'll make sure that we VLAN these ports off, so it's not going to give any kind of internet connection. It's literally just working as a PoE to 12 volt injector. Plug that in, and it didn't work. And that was because the voltage drop was a little bit too much, because it had gone from 12 volts, and by the time it got to the end of the cable, it was now less than 12 volts, and it wasn't enough to power the Starlink. So I thought, well, I can't add a third one at 12 volts because that's not going to work. But the Starlink will work higher than 12 volts. So let's get 4 of these. Let's use 4 ports. So I used the first 2 ports, bonded those together to make it a 24 volt at the end, and then did the same with the next 2 ports and made that also 24 volts, and then joined those together and put it into the Starlink, and it worked. It booted up, and I was able to do everything that you needed to do. I lost 4 ports on the MBX, but the MBX could power the Starlink Mini cleanly-ish and provide that connection on there. I mean, that's pretty cool, Joey.
All right. And have you also tested the data rates?
As in the speed of the Starlink Mini.
Yeah.
The Starlink Mini speeds are pretty good.
Yeah, I know. I've seen it. It's unbelievable.
We are regularly getting 15 megabits a second up or more, which in fairness is sometimes as good as the high performance dish. And we're regularly getting, the download isn't as quick as the high performance or the enterprise dishes, but we're still getting a good 100 megabits per second speeds.
Yeah, it is advertised as 100 megs of throughput on the download.
It's perfectly usable. Coming back to the PoE, I believe that Peplink are working on their own PoE injector for Starlink.
They
I don't know many details about it at the moment, but I do know that it's in development.
Yes. I think they're always looking for ways to make it much more cleaner install or easier install. And I think, yeah, this will help us out. And this is perfectly to start off the Peplink news section with the PoE injector for a Starlink Mini. Or is it all Starlinks? Or is it just
it's going to be all
Mini?
Starlinks. It's
Ooh.
well, no, I don't know it's going to be all Starlinks, but I'm under the impression it is going to be for all Starlinks. But in fairness, Starlink standard for PoE is the same.
Yeah.
It's just some take more watts, more amps than the other. But I'm pretty certain that they're designing it in such a way that it's going to be able to support the top level requirement at the moment. I've even heard that it might be able to support 2 at the same time.
Cool. There's some really Agent Adams stuff going on there. Some real investigations. It's a result of the Peplink integration with Starlink, right? Or the technical solution provider integration, I must say. That is something that I think this is a product of, right?
Yeah, I think it's definitely related. Already they've got the management of Starlink, which allows you to do certain things, but this just takes it to the next level.
Yes. Yeah,
I'd like to see features on there of being able to see how much watts you're drawing, being able to do a power cycle on the device. Those are pretty cool things.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you're listening to this Peplink, we'll come up with loads of other suggestions. I'll email you later.
Really good. Really good. All right. So, is there any other news?
Should we stick on the top secret stuff?
Yes. You're
Okay.
Agent Adam.
So I have heard that Peplink are working on the next generation of X devices. So we're talking about the EPX level of devices, the 2500 edge compute devices.
Ooh.
And they're looking at the speed at which it can work going forward. Because at the moment, I think the top level speeds that we have on any port on a Peplink at the moment, the maximum would be 10 gigabits per second, right? And
Yes.
that'd be using an SFP port. And I've heard there might be a QSFP port on this, which can work up to 40 gigabits per second. Do you know what QSFP is, Joey?
No, I've never heard of it.
So we obviously know what SFP is. We know what SFP
Yes.
Plus is. These are the little modules that allow you to use things like fiber, or you can even convert it to an Ethernet port. But a QSFP works at 40 gigabits per second, so it's like the next generation of that. There are even quicker ones, but the fact that we're even looking at this is good. And the way I've seen it used before is you could have a 40 gigabit module plugged in there with 4 tails on it, each of 10 gig, and those could then go into full switches. So you're not losing any speed from your router into those switches.
Ooh, that's nice. That's really interesting.
Really cool. So watch this space. I don't know. Say it's a rumor at the moment. I've heard they're working on these devices. I hope it's true. Sounds really exciting to me. And while we're talking about switches,
Wait.
Oh.
So maybe it's good to reference as well what kind of X devices there currently are, because if it's going to be the next gen X devices, is it going to be the next MBX? Is it going to be the next EPX, SDX, or SDX Pro? Or is it going to be a 380X or 580X or 310X? I think all of those things are valuable for an upgrade, right? With
what makes an X an X?
Well, it's the extreme performance series of Peplink, right?
Yeah. I always wondered whether it was the extreme performance or the fact that it's expandable, or whether it's both. But then some X devices aren't expandable, and some have flex modules that are expandable. So you've got the SDX, which does have flex modules, and the EPX.
Yeah.
But then the MBX and the 310s and all of that. So does it mean extreme performance?
I think it's both, because even though the MBX doesn't have the flex modules like the EPX has, there is an option to purchase a module to be upgrading from a 4G MBX to a 5G MBX. So you can take off the whole modem on the MBX and then upgrade that with a additional module that you can buy, and then you can make it a 5G. Well, it was before a 4G. So yes, expandable is also a really, really good option. Valuable point. Maybe some investigation is needed here for the next episode.
We need to find out what makes a Gen X device a Gen X device.
Yes.
And hopefully we'll have more news on these future X devices.
Yes.
Be interesting. And talking about future devices, Joey.
Yeah. Switching.
I think it's been a long time since we've had a switching refresh in the Peplink range. But
yeah,
I think it's worth the wait.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
So there's a new range of Peplink switches coming out. Do we know when they're coming out?
Depends on how much there is available during launch, of course. Peplink always wants to have something available during the launch.
I know they are available for pre-order already, but should we go quickly into the new range and what they've got? So there's a new 24-port rugged switch coming out. There's a new 24-port standard switch coming out, and there's a new 48-port standard switch coming out.
Yes,
so that's
correct.
3 new network switches imminently. And all of these switches have Prime Care on them as well.
Yes.
And the Prime Care costs less than the original versions of those switches.
Yes, correct.
And they've really developed these new switches so they integrate really well into In Control. I'm feeling this episode is a real In Control episode, but it's fine. It deserves being put on that pedestal.
Yes.
But it'll allow you to actually access a lot more of that on In Control, and they've removed some of the features from the web-based version, or the web-based admin of the switches, which I don't think is a bad thing. Whenever I've managed the switches, I've always used In Control. I don't think I've really gone into the web-based version and done anything on there significant.
Yeah, and also when we did the 101 WAN build showdown, you also used the In Control to manage all of those VLANs on the switches. So
yes, because it was just so easy. Example. So easy.
Yeah.
I also hear a rumor there's an 8-port desktop switch coming out. We need to confirm that. I've heard it may have PoE on it, but don't expect that till at least next year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So the 24-port rugged is the only one that out of all of the 3 versions, 24 rugged, 24, I think it was previously known as the Enterprise, 24 ports Enterprise. But is it still retaining that Enterprise, or is it the Enterprise removed? I cannot I don't know for sure. So if we're looking at the old devices, it's 24 ports rugged, 24 ports enterprise, and then the 48 ports, right?
Hmm.
There's two versions of the 24 ports. So the 24 ports rugged, just like the predecessor has, it or doesn't have, is a active cooling system. It is passively cooled, so it's very quiet. The 24 ports that are coming, the enterprise and now the new version of that, really has an active, same as the 48 ports. So that's the difference, and that's why it's called rugged as well.
So looking at some of the features of these switches, Joey, the 24 port, for example, will have 16 1 gigabyte ports and will have 8 2.5 gigabyte ports. So we're
Yes.
talking the actual Ethernet ports. In addition to that, they'll also have 4 times 10 gigabit SFP ports, which is no different than the previous version. But looking at this, the switch capacity is 152 gigabits per second.
Yeah, that's
on
a lot of
switch.
it.
That's crazy, absolutely crazy. Jump up to the 48 port switch, 224 gigabits per second.
That's a lot. That's really powerful, isn't it?
I mean, that is a lot of Netflix.
A lot of users using Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah. Can internet even keep up with it? Well, if you have the 101 WANs, maybe.
Yes.
But no, that's really exciting. So I think that is going to be out before the end of the year. They're certainly available for pre-order now because I've got one reserved. I look forward to playing with it soon. Amazing. Last thing I've got on here, Joey, on our PetLink news is an antenna box. What's this all about?
Yes. Well, do you remember on our tech day where we did the 101 WANs, where we showcased it? There was also a special guest, and that was not a person, but it was a mock-up sample of the antenna box from PetLink. It was the antenna Max, it's called, and it is basically a 42G antenna with a box underneath. And in that box, you can house a BL1 Mini 5G, BL1 Pro 5G, or a Transit Duo. So that really eliminates the fact of using antenna cables, coaxial cables, and stuff. And the BL1 Mini 5G, you can power that via PoE. But this one that we're talking about today is the antenna box based on the 82G. So this is the mobility antenna 82G, has 8 cellular elements, 2 Wi-Fi elements, and a GPS. So the antenna box based on the 82G, and I think it's going to be the antenna box Max Pro, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken. And this one, you can house a BR2 Pro 5G. So this is your dual cellular 5G antenna box option.
Amazing.
Yeah, really good. All right, that's it for the news, right?
That is it for the news.
Good.
I feel like there should be a little jingle or something now. PetLink news.
All right, now for the headliner of today's episode.
Joe, you've been waiting for this.
I've been waiting for this one.
I mean,
yes.
It's a bit of a tease actually, because I even put the joke on here to begin with, what the joke was going to be, but there's no punchline. So this podcast, like every podcast, I'm going to come up with an amazing dad joke, hopefully PetLink themed. If you've got your own, please put those in the comments as well. Might use one of yours. But here's the one for you this week. You ready?
Yes.
Why did the BR2 and the B1 get married?
Synergy mode?
It was because they just had such an amazing connection.
Oh my god.
Are you scoring it this time?
Yes, so I do need to score this one, right, Adam? So, yeah, I think this, on the scale of how bad the joke is, this is about 9 out of 10, right? But on the dad joke list, I think this is a solid 7, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think that how good of a dad joke that was, that's a 7. I want to keep it a little bit, also, like, you need to work for it a bit more the next time. So it's a solid 7.
That's 2 solid jokes. Yeah. And if you missed the last joke, feel free to watch the last episode, because that one was, maybe it was better than this, maybe it wasn't, but Still really good. So
Okay.
another thing we want to talk about today, Joey, is the feature requests section on the forum. What's this
Yes.
for?
So we want to highlight, or we want to talk about features that we like, but we also want to highlight the feature requests that we find like interesting or that we personally like. So yeah, we can give some special attention for a feature request. And I think Adam, you had one.
Can we do
this
one of
week,
mine?
right?
Can we do one of
Yes,
mine?
we do.
Let's do one of mine. So this is one I put on the forum back in July, and it's about managing the LED light on an access point from In Control. Because quite often, we do events, and we'll put an access point in an event, and it could be a dark room. They don't want to have the big blue light showing on the device, which is fair enough. And at the moment, we have to go into each access point individually and just turn it off. And I feel it would be really good if we could just go into In Control, do it on a tag, say, and say anything with this tag, turn the LED light off. Simple, right?
Yeah. So like, you have a tag with the dark side.
Yes, there you go. Tag with the dark side. Look, my jokes are still good, Joey, but good effort. Good effort. But there's lots and lots. I see stuff on the forum all the time for feature requests. So if there's one on there which you think perhaps needs a little more attention, get in touch. We can have a look at it. Maybe we'll feature it on one of the future podcasts.
Yes, we're happy to do that. Right, Adam, it was great talking to you. Do you have anything else that you want to disclose here before we wrap it up?
Disclose. God, that sounds a bit official, doesn't it?
Yes.
You've obviously heard something that I know about. I think it's probably worth mentioning that the PepLink Summit's going to be in Orlando next month, and I'm going to be there teaching the PCA. There's going to be Captain Nick there. There's going to be Professor Pete there. There's going to be representatives from PepLink there. It's going to be a really interesting event, I think, focused on what's going on in the PepLink community. And then, of course, it's not long before we'll probably have our own in Europe as well.
Yes, indeed. So if you still free beginning of November, then yeah. So if you want to participate in that event and talk to Agent Adam, feel free to sign up.
And I think, Joey, we should probably try and do a podcast from there as well. I think that'd be really interesting. I'll see if I can grab some people from PepLink and we can speak about some more things that interest us.
Yes, looking forward to it.
It'd be really good.
All right. Well, again, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you watch this on YouTube, I think it was lovely to talk to you again, Adam. And yeah, I think I will see you then next time in Orlando, or maybe we do one quick one in between. But thanks for hanging out with me.
Definitely, and I look forward to hanging out with you this weekend because we've got a space launch to watch.
Yes, Integration Flight 5 was the Starship with SpaceX. I'm really looking forward to it, yes.
So, really good.
Okay.
Thanks, Joey. Till next time.
Till next time. Bye-bye.